Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some malicious compliance. Our first story today comes to us from Silas Breakdown, my 6-step protest of the stupid new company shirts. Let's jump right in. I, 21 male, work at a grocery store. Started as a courtesy clerk or bag boy for the uncultured, but recently I've been training to be a checker. Yesterday, I was scheduled as courtesy clerk, and I assumed it was going to be a normal day. Several months ago, the dress code was relaxed to a significant degree. Before, we had to wear one of a few different company issue shirts. However, mid-December, we were told that we could now wear whatever we want within reason. Apparently, the store director had a different definition of within reason than the rest of us. So I started wearing my favorite shirts, normally the one from RWBY or one with Transformers on it. Yesterday, I wore the Transformers shirt. Upon arrival, everyone was wearing the same blue shirt advertising the store's new mobile game. You know how some stores have promotions where you get a few tickets with every purchase that you can redeem for a chance to win prizes? Well, someone at corporate decided to do that, but in mobile game form. And honestly, I think the shirts are kinda stupid. From here on, I will call them the FU shirt. I was told that all checkers had to wear them, but my manager, I'll call her Patty, said she'd check with the store director, Greg, if that applied to courtesy clerks too. While Patty checked on that, I started my floor sweep. Now, about Greg, he's legitimately a great boss. There seems to be a recurring pattern with these stories where the boss has no idea how things actually work, and is just a penny pincher or whatever. Greg defies all stereotypes. He helps out all over the store. He's even been known to help bag groceries if things get nuts, though that hasn't happened in quite some time. He's also the one who showed me how to snake a toilet, very hands-on. One time, he worked in the bakery for a month straight until more staff were hired. Honestly, as my first boss, he's kinda setting up all my future bosses for failure. All this to say, I wasn't trying to get back at him for anything. I was just trying to have some harmless fun, and protest a rule I think is stupid. So anyways, turns out all front-end staff have to wear the FU shirts. Fine. I spent the floor sweep coming up with ideas to peacefully and playfully protest. Malicious compliance number 1. I wore the FU shirt as a headband. It wasn't long enough to tie, so I taped it down. Patty saw me like that, smiled, and told me I probably had to wear it. Malicious compliance number 2. I put the FU shirt on in the bathroom, and then put the Transformers shirt on over it, making sure you could see the FU sleeves. That one got caught by Greg, who told me the FU shirt needs to be over. Malicious compliance number 3. This one was my favorite, and I think it lasted the longest. I called it the tape cape. I put on the Transformer shirt and then draped the FU shirt sleeves over my shoulders and taped them into place. Eventually, I got the idea to use a pride pin to save a piece of tape, but I'm still calling it the tape cape because it rhymes and I love it. Took Patty quite a while before she noticed both shirts are blue and she laughed. She didn't tell me to change it or anything. Eventually, Greg saw me and told me to wear it right. His mistake was not defining right. Malicious compliance number 4. I put the Transformer shirt away and actually started wearing the FU shirt. Head in the head hole and arms in the armholes, just inside out is all. This one might have lasted longer than the tape cape, but I wasn't keeping track. Greg didn't notice at first, but when he did, he just said my name in a disappointed tone. So I figured it was time to change tactics. Malicious compliance number 5. Backwards. That's all, just backwards. Greg came up to give me my 3-year pin and told me I almost had it right. Giving me the pin was a mistake though, because I had one more trick up my unwanted sleeve. Malicious compliance number 6. You may be thinking I've exhausted my options at this point. I have to wear the FU shirt the proper way now, don't I? Yes, I do. But no one told me I couldn't wear a cape. Yep, I did a reverse of the tape cape, so the Transformer shirt was covering the graphic with inexcusable puns on the back. I used the pride pin and the 3-year pin that had just been given to me. That lasted all of 30 seconds. So I unpinned the Transformer shirt and put my hoodie on. At that point, Greg said he was going to put a more clear copy of the dress code up near the punch-in clock and in the break room. Remember when I said that he and I had different definitions of within reason? Yeah, apparently we're allowed to wear whatever we want as long as it's plain color or plaid and has no logos or graphics on it. So actually, as I write this, it's occurring to me that as written, the FU shirts are in violation of the dress code. I guess I could start writing reports about everybody violating the dress code, but that would cross the line from harmless fun into needlessly petty. Maybe I'll just put up a post-it note on the dress code. So yeah, in conclusion, I exhausted all my options and had to wear the FU shirt right side out, tag in the back, with nothing covering it for the rest of the day, which by that point was less than an hour. From all indications, this will last as long as the promo will, about a month. Then we'll switch to normal plain clothes. It's a bummer that I won't get to wear my RWBY and Transformer shirts to work anymore, but honestly, I'd rather go plain and boring than the FU shirts, just out of principle at this point. OP did add a very quick edit on at the end, and it says, "For everyone saying I'm immature and petulant, yes, I am. And?" Well, OP, this is one way to turn your really good boss that you really enjoy working for into a bad boss. Because this guy's not your parent, okay? He doesn't have to put up with you. You're doing a little bit of malicious compliance, but you're also self-sabotaging yourself for the future. I mean, okay, the first time it might be funny, the second, okay, you got me again, whatever. But the third time and further on from that, what are you doing? Get back to work. I think it's just setting a precedent for immaturity, but I'd love to know what everybody else thinks. Please comment down below. Do me a quick favor and take a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're actually not subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. This next story comes to us from Government Opening 254. Immediate cell phone prohibition while in uniform. Let's jump right in. While in the US military, I was an E4 enlisted, not an officer. Enlisted ranks go to E9. I was going to meet up with a friend for lunch, but this briefing ran long with an E9, female, who was someone special, like the leader of our entire career group or some such. But these briefings are mandatory and so generic that you tune them out. Probably the third one in a quarter I'd been forced to suffer in silence through. Ironically, this same female E9 had come to my prior base and I was coined by her. Coining is a small token of gratitude, a good job in the shape of a coin that you can show off to others, bragging rights. This visit was different. Because female E9 had blathered on, I wanted to alert my friend via text that I'd be late. It was so boring and the briefing kept getting extended for so long. I guess I practically had a conversation with said friend. Anyway, I caught the negative attention of my superiors. The next day, I got written up. In the reprimand, the letter stated, effective immediately, you are no longer allowed to carry your mobile phone. Cue malicious compliance. The moronic idiocy where the punishment far exceeded the crime led me to spending several taxpayer dollars writing an email outlining the issue with said order. It went something like this. To my E6 supervisor. I received my letter of reprimand stating that I was no longer allowed to have my phone with me while in uniform. Unfortunately, my phone is sitting here with me at my desk. How am I to get my phone to my vehicle given these circumstances? Please advise. The E6 shows up at my desk in a huff and says, take your phone to your car and get back up here. Aye aye. I then had to go visit my immediate E9, different one than the speaker. Why? Not sure. So it's me, E4, E6, and a male E9. I explained the situation, but I'm allegedly a problem child for not listening to a person who wouldn't be able to pick me out of a crowd the next day because I was informing a friend that I'd be late for lunch. Whatever. Male E9 asks me if I think he should call my parents and inform them of what I did. I think this is odd, but I guess some 18-year-olds get really nervous at this threat and plead no. Please no, E9, don't do that. Me? I'm 30 by this point, and a college graduate to boot. My response? You're gonna do whatever it is you're going to do, very matter-of-factly. This notably annoys male E9. What's your parents' number? I don't know. You don't know? Don't you call your parents? Well, yes, but they moved recently, and I just have their number stored in my phone. Well, pull it out and look it up in your phone. My gaze immediately shoots at E6, who just as swiftly lets out a very audible sigh as he realizes my phone is in my car. Sir, I was ordered to no longer have my phone on me while in uniform, I respond. I'm told to go retrieve it from my car and provide my parents' phone number to the E9 for, safekeeping. A year passes and I tell my dad the story after I've separated. He never got a call, but said that if he had, he would have asked whether the phone call was a joke, given that I was very much an adult by then. I think there were a couple of other ways you could have done malicious compliance on this one, although one of them might have gotten you arrested. Firstly, you could have just gone and gotten somebody else's phone, and when they said, "We told you not to use your phone while in uniform," you just tell them, "Well, it's not my phone." The other one was to, when they told you to go get your phone, leave the room, strip down naked, get your phone, and come back, and when they make a stink, say, "Well, you said no phone while wearing the uniform." This next story comes to us from Delayed Loading. You need me to have my ID? Sure, I can get that. Let's jump right in. I just bought a house with my spouse. Yay, great time to with this market, I know. And it's a new build. I'm going through setting up all the utilities and such so we can live comfortably. One of these utilities is internet, which has been giving me a headache for a few days now. There is only one option for the home since it's a new build, so unless I want to wait for someone else to lay their cables and such, I need to go through them. No biggie, they have fiber already along the street, and as I and my spouse work from home, fiber is a great option. The first 2 times I attempt to set up for a technician to come out and connect our house to the fiber line, I am met with arrival dates that change to 14 years from the day the technician was supposed to come. The first time I was confused and called in. I was told something was wrong with the account. Okay, I'll set up a new one and order a technician for the following day. Annoying, but doable. Next day, 14 years get added to the arrival date again. Call in again and get passed around technical support until I just ask for someone to tell me what is happening. Apparently, support can't tell me because it's on the technician side, and they can't see the technician side of things. Great. I decide to go in with my spouse to talk to people in store, since online and over the phone have only served to give me headaches. There, I am met with a simple issue before they can help me. I forgot my driver's license. Without my driver's license, they can't get into my account. I tell the associates helping me and my spouse that I have a picture of my ID on my phone and can just show it to them. They can't take that and ask me to call back after I go get my ID, handing me a specific associate's card with their number. Cue malicious compliance. My spouse and I leave, driving to a place to eat dinner, and call the associate in the car. We had told him it might take 20 minutes for me to get my ID. The restaurant we went to was about 2 minutes away. I led the call with my name and asked if he can get into my account now that I have my ID, and says he can. He comments that this was a lot faster than he thought it would be, and I just responded with a yep and read my ID number off of the picture I had of it in my phone. The call lasted about 30 minutes instead of the total 50 it would have taken if we had driven home to get my ID, and we went to eat dinner right after the call was done. Nothing has been fixed yet, but after all the issues I was having, this felt like a nice win. Hahaha, 14 years to get an install? That sounds like about the amount of time that I get quoted for a technician to come out anytime there's a problem with my internet. This one really did make me think though, because the person in the store who said to go home and get your ID and then call in must have not realized what they were actually asking OP to do. Either that or they were just following procedures and really didn't care. Another thing on this one is the one company monopoly on a whole area is absolute bullcrap. I understand OP was in a new area and other companies hadn't laid cable there yet, but I live in a house that was built in '87 and we only have one option here for internet that's faster than dial-up. This next story comes to us from KRLW890. Give a biography on this person who, by the way, doesn't exist. Let's jump right in. This happened long enough ago in college that I feel okay with sharing it now. A little while ago, I was taking this one ethics course that was required for my major, and it had the most insufferable professor. First of all, it was a college ethics course, so there's your first red flag right there. Secondly, it was only taught by one professor who used his own textbook for the course. For the first half of the semester, I thought he was a bit of a pain, but tolerable. It helped that my expectations were low. Then the midterm came up. It was an online course, so we were allowed and expected to use notes and the internet during the exam. I eventually got to this one question, which went something like this. According to name of person, quote by person, do you agree and why? Give a brief biography on the person. Having never heard of him before, I looked him up, getting exactly 3 relevant results. The first was just the question verbatim. The other 2 were questions on Q&A sites asking who this person was. One had no activity, the other had one answer. He doesn't exist. Well, he exists, just not by that name. If you're asking this question, you already know who he is. What the actual F? I would learn later that this person's name was literally an anagram of our professor's name, which is why I'm censoring that in addition to his real name. So I can only assume the question was both asked and answered by him in advance. But I didn't know that at the time. While this would have been a funny joke if it was framed as an extra credit bonus question, it wasn't. It was a serious, graded question on our midterm, with no indication whatsoever that the biography portion of the question wasn't serious. At a complete loss for words, I decided, fine, you want a biography for a person who doesn't exist? I'll give you one. After my actual serious response to the quote, I ended up writing this masterpiece of BS. Fake anagram name, born as Lucas Schmidt, which was a random name I made up, was born in the backwater alleys of Ursprung, Germany in 1954. Impoverished and orphaned by the age of 4, he was taken in by the German mafia for his pickpocketing skills. Raised to be merely a tool for the mafia, he scored his first kill by the age of 6. This would perhaps be the origin story of some sociopathic serial killer. But everything changed for young Schmidt in 1964 when he stumbled upon a copy of Dr. Seuss's Horton Hears a Who. Touched by its inspiring words, Schmidt had, for the first time, experienced actual human emotion. And now that he had a taste, he knew he could never go back. He fled from the German mafia and hid away in Switzerland, studying literature and philosophy. He began to write about our course's specific branch of ethics under the pen name Fake Anagram Name, so as to avoid recognition by the German mafia, with hopes of indirectly undermining them without drawing attention to himself. And while this story may seem fantastical, it is at least more interesting than he doesn't exist. This ended up being longer than the serious answer I gave on my response to the quote. My professor ended up giving me extra points for making him laugh, so at least he had a sense of humor. So what exactly are the ethics involved in including a trick question like that on a midterm? One that the grades actually count for. And I've got to be honest here because I never went to college myself, I don't really understand how this works. But if this professor is teaching you using a textbook that they wrote and they're profiting from that textbook, is that ethical as well? Check out all 4 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching, I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.